grew up in San Jose for a little bit and then moved to Modesto. And I just remember it being me, my sister, and my mom. We were pretty poor then, actually. I mean, not poor. You know, I've seen worse, but I mean, we were struggling. I was always, you know, in the mirror with my mom, flexing, doing the, ripping my shirt off like Hulk Hogan, watching WWE. I was a very active kid. I was always outside playing, roughhousing. Me and my dad, my stepdad who adopted me, I'll call him my dad from now on. Always wrestled, you know, always was very active. So childhood was cool, you know, up until about 6 or 7, where I got diagnosed with ADD and ADHD, and doctors were putting me on different meds. I was having trouble in school, you know, concentrating, but I just thought I was, you know, I just always wanted to run around. I was a hyper kid. Everything's being made new to the market, so, you know, they don't really know what it's going to do. And so one medicine would make me sleep all day. One medicine would not make me eat, and I was skinny and I couldn't put on weight. One medicine made me blow up, and you know, like I was just a fat, and, you know, I had tremors all the time. And then there was one that literally made me, like, I would say things and do things that, like, I wouldn't even think I control. Like, I would become angry all of a sudden, and I think that had a lot to do with, you know, my struggling growing up too as well. So I'd have to leave class to go get my medicine, then come back, and then when people started realizing kind of what was going on, you know, I got picked on a little bit. You know, oh, you're crazy, you have medicine. And so I started getting in fights here and there, and then I'd see other people get bullied, and that even made me more mad, because then, you know, I felt like almost I had to be a hero. You know, I had to go in there and help this person because I knew what it felt like, and that's not okay. And I was always raised to treat others, you know, how I want to be treated. I would go home and cry. You know, I wouldn't be at school crying, but I'd go home, or I'd cry, or, you know, I'd tell my mom these horrible things they said about her, you know, and it's like my mom would be like, so what? But it's like, to me, it was like the end of the world. Like, no, you don't understand. And it really affects kids. It just kind of escalated to where I, you know, ended up having to move, you know, schools, and then, you know, started going to like special private schools where, you know, there were 4 people with learning disabilities, and that to me was the worst thing. You know, I know my parents were trying their best to do whatever, but, like, I mean, I was a very smart kid. I just was, like I said, very hyper. So I knew how to do math. I knew how to do all that. I knew how to do whatever was being assigned. It's just I wasn't in class long enough for the teacher to, you know, explain things more often. So I'm about 11, 12 years old, and we're on a field trip, and there's no stalls, and I have to use the bathroom vat. Well, you know, somebody had said go pee in a sink, and I said okay, you know, and I peed in the sink. Well, somebody told on me, and I got suspended. Now immediately I made, you know, I just, you know, didn't know what to do. You know, I was getting in trouble. I was not suspended, but told that I'm gonna have to stay later, and that means I would miss the train. I would have no way to get home, and so it was a big problem. So I made this lie and said that if I do, my dad will throw me against the wall. You know, he'll be so mad he'll throw me against the wall. Well, they called the cops and CPS, and you know, I was, you know, naive. I didn't know better, and so they came that night and interviewed all of us, and then luckily they didn't place any arrests, but it really caused a problem for our family. I was there for a little over a month, and then I ended up, you know, got told that I was going to a boarding school, and was sent there for 3 years away from my family, and I think that was rough, because like I said, I'm sensitive, so I really do like my family and being around it. And then when I was there for 3 years, and I got out of there, moved back, went to, you know, high school, and did fine, actually. I played sports all my life. I was really good at baseball. I played football for a couple of years, basketball, water polo. I didn't really get into boxing until about like 19, 20 years old. I was going through a rough time in my life. I went through a depression. You know, I was doing horrible in school, and then like I was just starting to get out of shape, and then, you know, like I was drinking and stuff like that, and I was living in an apartment by myself, and I was waiting on the cable guy, and the cable guy came one day, and, you know, he was talking to me, hanging out, and then, you know, I was watching, you know, old UFC fights from, like, you know, back in the day, and he's like, oh, you know, you like that stuff? And so he gave me this gym pass at Navaroni's Boxing, and told me, hey, come in there, man, you'll love it. And so if I did actually, and then ended up, signing up right away. And I didn't miss a day forever. I was in there every day, and it kind of motivated me, and it kind of pulled me away from that depression for a little bit. Oh yeah, I got the training today. Oh, there's gonna be sparring tomorrow. Yes, that is awesome. I'm looking forward to that. And so it's like I started looking forward to things as opposed to dreading things. The more I trained, the less I would wake up at night or be up at night, and so it kind of started helping my life out in a way. I think you feel like you have the need to be this, defend your honor or whatever. And I think that with training, it really it kind of makes you just realize, no, you don't. You know what you're capable of. I got matched up with a guy that was like 30 pounds heavier than me, and it was funny because I right off the bat, I went at him like, he was just the smallest thing, and we went back and forth, and it was a war actually, and then I ended up losing the decision because I gassed out a little bit at the end, but like that kind of triggered something in me that where I was like, you know what, like I love this, and it made me feel like even though I lost, like it was like, I just did something that not a lot of people do, and I'm like, I used to be scared of things like, I don't want to hurt anyone and stuff like that, and it's like it was the other side of me that I got to feel, and so I loved it. And I did a couple more, and I did I went undefeated after that in Thai boxing, and then I was doing jiu-jitsu at Casio Wernex. I love doing jiu-jitsu tournaments and Muay Thai tournaments. So what really happened was my first MMA fight where like go in there and you're really nervous. It literally, you're locked in a cage, and it's like barbaric, and all these emotions of you being the tough guy at the gym, or you having great fight camp and all this stuff, or you train hard, you run the most, your cardio is the best, doesn't matter. Once you get in the cage, and it's like, oh shit, you've thrown half of it out, with your anxiety and adrenaline, and to really overcome that feeling and get into and get your hand raised was awesome. And my buddy Josh that passed away had said, man, why don't you fight, man? You go to these tournaments, or you do this, and you're beating people up, or whenever I'm acting a fool, you can wrestle me and take me down and do all this stuff. And it's like, why don't you just fight? And he always wanted to, and then like 3 years ago, he committed suicide in my house. He was living with me, and he went through a bad depression, and I found him, and I tried resuscitating him, and it was bad. It really haunted me for a while. It made me a very different person, and then it's hard to stay that way. You either keep going that way and it gets worse, or you got to make it better. And so I started just taking my training seriously, really just focusing a lot on that. It couldn't sleep anymore, so it was like I had to train more. And then that after that first MMA fight, literally I had his name on my shirt, and it was the greatest thing to get my hand raised. I knew that he was definitely watching, and so every time I fight, I honor him that way, I think, because it was his dream, I think. It wasn't necessarily my dream. My dream's always just to be the best. I want to be a champion no matter what I do. If I was a violin player, I would want to be the best. And so when I got that hand raised the first time, it was just an addiction. It's something I need to feel fulfilled now. I go through times where it's like you sit there thinking like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? You struggle so much with a weight cut, or financially, I hurt all the time. It's just I love to do it. I wish I could do it every day, and I wish I could fight more often even. It's a fun thing to do, and regardless of fighting, I'll always be a martial artist, and I think that's the key thing. I want to love what I do, and this is what I love to do.